Hey guys, welcome back to the Girl Gone London channel and a very British Christmas. If you're new here, my name is Kaylin. I'm an American expat living in the UK, and today we're making probably one of the most popular British Christmas foods besides Christmas pudding, and that is mince pies. Okay, so a couple things to get straight before we get started. Mince pies don't actually contain mince, as in mince meat. They used to, but nowadays they do contain what's called mince meat, and it looks like this. But it is basically raisins and spices. Now, mince meat is super easy to get in the UK because of mince pies. If you live elsewhere in the world, it's not going to be on the shelves unless you're at like a store that does imports. So I'll have a link below on how to make your own mincemeat. Again, there is no actual meat. So if you are a vegetarian who doesn't eat meat, I don't 100% know if there's any ingredients that wouldn't be good for a strict vegetarian. I don't think so, but especially if you make your own at home, you can have an authentic mince pie. It's not actually meat, though it is called mince. Okay, so as usual, I'm gonna set you up so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, let's talk ingredients. So we're going to need to make the pastry for our mini mince pies, as well as the filling. So for the filling, I'm going to use a jar of mince meat. Again, if you are not in the UK or somewhere where they sell this, I will put a link below on how to make your own mince meat. You're going to need an apple. You're going to need 2 satsumas, and you're going to need a lemon. Now for the pastry, you're going to need 2 eggs, some unsalted butter, caster sugar or regular sugar would be okay, and some plain or all-purpose flour. I'm going to go ahead and put how much you need in the description on this video because that lets me translate from metric into the basically American conversions. So I'm going to use a British recipe using the metric system, which means that we're gonna have to weigh our ingredients, but I will put in more information for those of you who are not from the UK. So let's start by making our pastry. So I'm going to take a bowl and I'm gonna put in 375 grams of plain flour. And I need 260 grams of unsalted butter. Okay, so that is my flour and my butter. And how I'm going to combine it is actually using my hands. So I'm going to go ahead and push my sleeves up, make sure my hands are washed. And I'm going to do what's called rubbing the butter into the flour. So just with my hands, I'm basically just going to pinch the butter into the flour, and then it eventually will have a crumb consistency. Okay, so now that it has a crumb-like consistency, I'm going to add caster sugar, and it's going to be 125 grams of caster sugar. And 1 egg. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix this until it comes together. Now I'm going to dump this out onto the counter and use my hands to bring the pastry together. You can see it's starting to come together as a dough. Now I'm just gonna try and bring the rest together. Great, now go ahead and wrap this in saran wrap and put it in the fridge. So now my pastry is chilling. It only needs to chill for about 10 minutes, but that gives us time to make the filling. So the first thing I'm going to pour in is my mince meat. Again, if you have made your own at home using the recipe provided, that's totally fine. Go ahead and just pour that into the bowl. So I've got that poured in. Now I'm going to peel my satsumas and go ahead and break those into pieces. There's one. Go ahead and make sure it's broken up. Now I need the zest of 1 lemon, so I'm going to do that. Now, the final ingredient in this mixture is actually an apple finely chopped. This is a very large apple, and I think what I'm gonna do is I am going to put it in my food processor to chop it up a bit easier. Okay, now I'm gonna add the apple into the mixture. And it's time to just mix this all up, squish it all together. Now we're going to preheat the oven to 220 Celsius, about 400 Fahrenheit, and we're also going to pull our pastry out of the fridge. Here we go. So we've got our pastry, we've got our filling. I'm just going to get a rolling pin. And I'm also going to get a muffin tin as well as a cup. Okay, so I've got a muffin tin. And I'm just gonna get a basic cup. But we're gonna want 2 varying diameters. So a cup with quite a large top, and then one that's smaller to help us do our base and our top. Okay, so what we wanna do is we wanna take our pastry and we wanna roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch thick. I'm going to take my larger glass and I'm going to cut out what will act as the bottoms. Go ahead and place it in the muffin tray. Just like that. Now that we've got our bases, we are going to spoon in about a tablespoon and a half full of the mixture into each one. Now that I have them filled, I am going to go ahead and roll out my dough again to about the same thickness, but I'm going to use my smaller glass to create the top. So now that I have my tops ready, I'm going to put one on each and I'm going to press it down to seal it. Go ahead and take your remaining egg and crack it. Beat it with a fork. Brush it along the tops of the pastry. Now we just need to sprinkle the top with a little bit of extra sugar, or a lot in my case. And take a knife, and I'm just gonna cut a little X in the top. Now these go in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. We'll let those cook and I'll see you when they're done. Okay, so it's been about 15 minutes and my mince pies are done. So let me just give you a close up. Ooh, so actually we do have one tiny remaining step that's kind of traditional for mince pies, and that's to sprinkle some powdered sugar. Let me just find the powdered sugar. We're gonna just sprinkle a little bit of powdered sugar on top. So I've got that now. Obviously we did sprinkle some regular sugar before baking, but this is just to kind of finish off the look. So let me just make sure you can see what I'm doing. Okay, it's not perfect, but it'll do. We've got some powdered sugar on top to complete our mince pies. If you've enjoyed this tutorial and want more British recipes or tutorials or information about British life, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time.